forgot to ask. What do you want your poetry to do?
Go to college, get a good job. Bring home the bacon. Well, what do I want it to do? Be nice to me. I mean, I think, you know, I don't know if I expected to do anything. I guess ultimately I'd like it to share, like, whatever it is to be human in my experience, and find an echo or resonance in somebody else and their experience, and close the gap of, you know, being in these separate bodies for a minute or a second, something like that.
Other people get
questions. What kind of car did I have in high school? 55 Cadillac. And I drove my dad's Opel GT. Yes?
How have you made a living while writing poetry?
Next question. Yeah, I always said poetry's like crime. It doesn't pay. Yeah, so I never made a living doing poetry, just other luck and, you know, patchwork luck. I'm really grateful. Mostly luck. Come on. I didn't make you curious. I'll have to read more stuff. I have some Siri poems that I made Siri.
There's a gentleman right here, David.
Do you have, as far as a writing schedule, when you get up, you go, I gotta write for 2 or 3 hours, or is it random? You know, today I feel, you know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then, you know, I'm up at 3:30 a.m. I'll sit down, or do you have a schedule? And, you know, I kind of like to stick by as far as that.
Well, it's changed over the years, but for the last probably 8 years, and especially, you know, the past few years, my favorite thing to do. So I wake up, I get coffee, and I have an 18 by 22 sheet of paper and like 4 or 5 different fountain pens with different colors of ink, and I just hit it and just write whatever for like 2 or 3 hours, and then that just stacks up, and eventually I get around to, like, you know, typing something up, or if I want to do a show, you know, I try to, what did I write, you know. I find it helps for me to let them sit for a while. I can't judge them very well, but so many times I've written something and I thought, wow, this is really good, you know, and then like 6 months later it's like, ugh, I don't like that, you know? And other times, you know, I find something on the back of an envelope that, you know, it's like 10 years old, it's like, I wrote that. But yeah, I like just writing in the morning with the coffee, that especially before the world starts humming. And then, you know, if I go out to a coffee shop or whatever, it's nice to do that too.
Can you do it with music, or does it have to be totally silent?
For me, yeah, I prefer silence. I haven't tried music in a long time.
Do you have any rules? Is there anything you won't let yourself write about, or you don't want to write about? Or?
No, I mean, it's hard. I try to go past whatever I don't want to write about and go ahead and write about it. I do, you know, live in fear of, like, wow, if I get in a car wreck, like, what are, you know, like my family or what are people going to think about some of this stuff that, you know, I just explore the inner psyche or, you know, whatever, just all total revelation. But, you know, I don't think it's any more outrageous than a normal human. It's just not what you talk about usually. No, I try to write anything, and especially if something feels like I shouldn't talk about it. It's amazing to try to go into it, and then that'll take you interesting places sometimes. Yes?
Is your editing mind pretty consistent, or does it change with different pieces? And what is your editing process like? Like, do you think of the audience, or just being true to your own message?
That's a great question. my favorite bits come out, boom. Don't have to touch them. I've killed a lot of really things I thought were good by trying to edit them. Like I just can't find it once I start changing it. For the paper, I'll try to make it tight or make it so that somebody reading it will have to kind of read it in the rhythm I'm hearing it. So it changes, yeah, depending whether it's for paper or for spoken word, yeah, I'll edit it very loosely. But for the page, I'll try to tighten it up. The best is if I don't have to edit it.
So yeah, do you, with your spoken stuff, do you ever practice it or record it and listen back to it and decide if it sounds any good? I mean, similar to the editing question.
That's the only way I can judge anything, actually. Like, yeah, so to get ready for the show, I read a bunch of stuff, walk around with listening to it and lately I have my computer read it to me a lot. Like it's the crazy voice, like Vicky on Mac, but just hearing it, like, it helps me edit a lot of the time. I can't judge it just from the page. I have to hear it. Yeah, I have to hear it. So yeah, I record it all the time and listen back, and then, especially getting ready for those shows, like I just tweak this word or that word. Like I constantly be trying to change it and tighten it up. So I'm just contradicting what I just told you, which is pretty typical. But yeah, listening to stuff it gives me the most information. Yeah. And to experience poetry, I like listening much better than reading, or just it gets into me a lot better. Yeah.
When you say luck and patchwork, was there an occupational force or a day job that influenced your poetry at all? I don't work for the IRS.
Well, I worked in bookstores a lot, and so 8 hours in a bookstore reading, grabbing a book, reading a paragraph, grabbing a book, reading a paragraph. So reading a collage of about 100, 200 paragraphs, and then that all getting jumbled up and coming out like that probably. And then the writers I found by working in a bookstore, I would have never found otherwise. By alphabetizing a shelf, I'd find a book would be amazing that I would have never found otherwise. I was a bartender at the Paramount a long time. I mean, I'm sure everything influences it somehow, but like not directly with that. Probably the bookstore was the most influential and educational. Yeah. Like if you work here, geez, read little bits of all these books. It all gets spinning around in there. And then you can see what, like when I first saw Samuel Beckett, and like he has a whole novel where there's not a punctuation, not a paragraph break, nothing. Like, I didn't know you could do that. You find what people can, they break all the rules. And J.P. Donnelly, writes sentences that are like one word long, like morning, coffee, breakfast. Like, what is he doing? So, yeah, that's the best.
Can you talk about how you place your line breaks? How do you get
With a hammer.
We need our overhead projector.
I'm still trying to figure that out. That's so hard. That's so hard. I have no idea. I mean, if I'm going to read it, I just put them wherever I need to take a breath, or although I wrote one today that I was trying to be clever with line breaks and put it on Facebook. And I don't know why, it just came out that way. One reason I like Sylvia Plath is killer line breaks, and T.S. Eliot. I don't know, there's some magic to line breaks I have not discovered yet. But I really respect poems with like really good line breaks, for sure. So, are you good, Adam? How do you do? Yeah, it's really great because then the reader just like has to like, it's like putting a beat to it or a soundtrack to it, kind of. Yeah. Good line breaks hard to find. surprisingly. Because, yeah, it should be here. That's what drove me crazy with like this book there. That was a 70-page book, and we cut it down. Clementine helped me edit it. And that was the first thing and it's like, in '89 is when I wrote it, the first time I ever wrote anything on computer. Before then, every time I had to rewrite something, I had to retype it completely from the beginning. But now I had a computer, and I could sit around all night, let's break it here, let's break it there, let's type it this way, let's type it that way. And I just got lost in the possibilities. And I mean, that doesn't happen so much anymore, but I feared the problem was that I kept trying to rewrite a 70-page poem instead of, if I'd been typing, I'd been doing it, you know, a little at a time.
Yes, so do you write longhand anymore, or?
That's all, I just write with fountain pen on paper and then type it up.
Yeah, you said you did in the morning, but okay, so then the other question, do you write?
On computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if I'm on the computer, something comes into my head, I'll write it on the computer. Or, you know, in an email or something. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just different. You know, I just like this pen and paper, I guess. Yeah.
Do you ever say things out loud and record them?
I do. Yeah. I like doing that too. Spalding Gray builds his shows from just speaking, and that's really fun. And then you can get into a character and just talk a bunch of stuff. And then, yeah, I like writing by recording. And then what I discovered with Siri is like she would hear me all wrong. And it would be so much more interesting than anything I was saying. So then, you know, then I didn't know which part I wrote and which part she wrote.
Yeah, my question was going to be, what do you intend to do with them? Because I want people to see those. They're so funny, the Siri poems.
Well, I have 20 here, and I'm going to try to bribe Drawpaw into putting a chapbook up. Co-authored.
So
I just have to read one, maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, this is just an example. Like, I don't know which part I said or which part she said it. I was smoking a cigarette at the gasoline store and hallucinating that Karen Noster is so subtle. I don't know who Karen Noster is. I don't know what I was trying to say. But then I Googled her, and she has a Facebook page. No idea. Is your availability on top of doing the gravitational way my love would never stop? My nervous agitation can hang his hat up pretty much as soon as he doesn't have anything to do. Another education about this on Monday. Stations about rotations of a camera next to me, about a car next to you, about a girl, etc. That's Siri. She's brilliant. At least for now, until the technology gets better, and then she'll be gone. So it's a small window where Siri will be hearing wrongly. And you have to take advantage of it.
There's a question over here.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to ask about your method with Siri. So,
Yeah, some of them I wrote and then read to Siri and see how she'd get them wrong, and even tried a couple times. Then some of them I'd like mumble or try different accents or just make stuff up off the top of my head and just see what she came up with. And then some I wrote and typed up and then had the computer read it to the phone and see what would happen there. They usually didn't understand each other very well at all. Yeah, it's amazing. And she comes up with really specific places that I've never heard of. So she's real literary in that way, about details, you know. Like she had something about Madagascar one time, like a specific city in Madagascar. I was like, wow, that sounds exotic. I would have never thought that. You know? And Karen Noster, bless you, where you are. Maybe she'll see this on YouTube someday. I'm not subtle, I'll show him. I'll sell him upside. Hey. But I think anybody can write. One of my favorite things to do is like, you know, you get a dictionary, you just open it at random, pick a word, set the timer for 10 minutes, write as fast as you can. Do that 10 times, you'll have something. You do that every day, you'll have like, what, over 300 poems to choose from. If 10% of those are any good, you have a book, boom. And it's going to be interesting, somehow. Guaranteed. But it's just a matter of, you know, hours and, I mean, minutes, really. A matter of minutes, and so much easier to turn on Netflix, you know. I know all about them. Any more?
Okay, well, it's David's brother's birthday, right? We're going to say happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, George, yeah.
He's supposed to watch this on YouTube.
Happy birthday, Brother George.
Happy birthday, George. All right, well, any more questions? Excellent turnout, good questions, wonderful poetry. We got to say thank you to Robert.